Hello everyone, this is Marshall Gittler, Head of Investment Research here at FXPRIMUS, bringing you the day's schedule events for Wednesday, April 6th. The focus today is squarely on the Fed, with two regional Fed presidents speaking and the release of the minutes from the last FOMC meeting. Now, Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester, who's talking at 1600 GMT, is a known hawk. Following last week's unemployment report, she said, "We're basically at full employment," and added, "We can't wait until we get to both of our goals before we start gradually moving back up the Fed funds rate." Dallas Fed President Robert Kaplan, who's talking at midnight GMT, is also rather hawkish. Last week he warned that it was indeed possible to raise rates at the April meeting. Now, note that Eurodollar moved slightly lower on Monday after Boston Fed President Rosengren said the market rate expectations could prove too pessimistic. That shows that the market does pay close attention to these folks. Further hawkish comments from these two regional Fed presidents could push the dollar higher on Wednesday. Their comments, though, may be overshadowed by the minutes of the March FOMC meeting, which will be released at 1800 GMT. The statement following the meeting was more dovish than expected, and Fed Chair Yellen's comments last week went even further. Investors will be analyzing the minutes in detail to see what the obstacles to further rate hikes might be. My suggestion, count how many times the word global and the phrase global economic and financial conditions appear, because it looks to me like the Fed is now acting as the world's central bank. Actually, that would argue for a rate hike in April, because they might hesitate to hike in June, just a few days before the Brexit vote. But I have to admit, the market assigns exactly zero probability to an April rate hike. Bank of Japan Governor Kuroda will address the monthly meeting of Bank of Japan branch managers. Addressing the Diet on Tuesday, Kuroda said he would keep monitoring FX markets and that it was possible to lower rates further into negative territory. Of course, he's always monitoring the markets, so that phrase is essentially meaningless. But it signals to the market participants that the Bank of Japan might be willing to do something. We'll be watching to find out what he tells the branch managers about the FX market and the possibility of further cuts in rates. As for the statistics, the only major figure coming out is the weekly oil statistics from the U.S. Department of Energy at 1430 GMT. It's expected that U.S. inventories will rise about 13 million barrels, a bit more than the previous week. Oil prices fell sharply after last week's number, so one might expect them to fall again if inventories rise even more. This is Marshall Gittler, Head of Investment Research at FXPRIMUS. Get more market insights on our education pages and turn your trading ideas into action with FXPRIMUS, the safest place to trade.